Awesome. Okay. Well, to be cognizant of everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and start. Welcome everybody for our June meeting. We do have kind of a light but heavy agenda. So we've got John Gluckert, who is from the Cal OES DSW program, who's here to do a little presentation for us. I'm very excited about that. We'll have a Q&A with him after he's done with his presentation. And then we also wanted to talk to the group about the upcoming joint CERT Skills Day. We've had some new developments and wanted to kind of just talk through some things some things with the group. I need some more coffee. I apologize. I got my iced tea, so hopefully it'll kick in at some point. All right. Well, without further ado, Dawn, I'm going to hand it over to you, and thank you again for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. There's just a few points that I want to address right at the beginning here, and I'm going to share my screen. And the first is there have been some questions about the oath. Now, these pages, there's 4 pages here that I'm going to share. They're actually from the Disaster Service Worker Volunteer Program Guidance booklet, and I can direct that to any of you towards the end if you don't already know where it is. So our rules have changed ever so slightly because of COVID, as has most of the world. The oath can be self-certified, meaning a new person who is going to join as a disaster service worker volunteer can self-certify the oath by reading the oath and signing it. But someone who has authority at the ADC, the Accredited Disaster Council of the city or the county, or if they're an authorized designee, fire district, sheriff's department, police department, etc., they need to review that and sign the form as well. This prevents a free-for-all of a lot of people just downloading and signing the form and sending it in and say, yes, and now I'm a volunteer. Nope, not necessarily. Needs to be authorized by someone with authority. Okay. It used to be that someone who was an elected official or delegated the oath would be one who could administer the oath. But now, because we allow self-certification, and that's because of COVID, that's not necessary anymore. There is a rule down here, number 7. Can the oath be administered remotely via online, telephone, or video? And my predecessor, who wrote this guidance, she is awesome, said no. Well, that was the rule in 2016. In 2019, we said yes. And it can be done on a Zoom call if people wish to do it that way, FaceTime, any other video. It could be done over the phone or really in person. So that's how the oath is handled. Who can be authorized to administer the oath? Could a volunteer? Yes. If that volunteer is delegated in writing by the Accredited Disaster Council, which would be the city or the council, or the authorized designee, the supervisor at that authorized designee, such as the fire chief. But it has to be in writing. Okay, any questions about the oath? All right. The other thing I want to talk about is that a disaster service worker must be registered with an accredited disaster council, city or a county, or an authorized designee. Must be. They cannot be independent, because in law, if anyone self-deploys to help out at an emergency or a disaster, they're not eligible for the workers' comp program that this DSW volunteer program affords. So all DSW volunteers throughout the state of California must be registered with an ADC or an authorized designee, trained, deployed, and supervised. And then that way it kind of flips the switch that this person is eligible if injured while performing disaster services or training for disaster services to file for workers' comp claims. Okay, there are certain things that are eligible, and this is a list. All of this is in the book, so if you want later on, you can go look at it. But it has to be during a proclaimed emergency. Proclaimed emergencies can happen on the local level, regional level, or statewide level. Right now, we do have a statewide emergency, and that is COVID. Also, activities to mitigate an imminent threat. You know, the rivers, the dam's going to break. We need sandbags. That's imminent. Imminent is not, well, we might have heavy snowfall next year or so. We need to go make sandbags. That's not imminent. That's a maybe. Okay, so we do allow volunteers to work at vaccination clinics, and we have for over a year. And then this is interesting right here where my mouse is pointing, travel directly to and from an incident site. Incident means it's a disaster or an emergency for which you have been deployed. So if you're involved in an accident as a driver or a passenger on the way to an emergency, then you may file for a workers' comp claim for your injuries traveling to or from that site. It does not, the law excludes travel directly to and from a training activity, only to an incident, okay? And then the training has to be authorized in advance. It could be classroom instruction, equipment training, could be, most of them are outdoors. A lot of your CERT training is outdoors where you receive certain levels of certification. And then you also have classroom training. Okay, and then ineligible activities, unapproved training. So if a CERT team decides, hey, we're just gonna get together and do this training, and it wasn't pre-approved by your sponsor, then anyone who is injured there is not eligible to file for a workers' comp claim. Okay, just getting together for a meeting, and it's not really a training, it's just a meeting, that is an ineligible activity for workers' comp claims. So you can see there, it's not a long list, but it's one that we strictly adhere to. One that comes up a lot is, well, there's a fair going on and we want to staff a booth to hand out brochures. It's not an emergency and it's not training for an emergency. So it's an ineligible activity. You know, directing traffic at a parade, no. You can do it, but it's an ineligible activity for workers' comp benefits. And then you can see that the second from the bottom, ineligible is travel to and from training, and so is self-deployment. Those are automatic ineligible for workers' comp benefits. And an accredited disaster council, as I said, it's an authorized state agency. It's a city or a county or an authorized state agency. And there aren't many. There's only 3 universities, and I believe only one other state agency that's authorized to register, train, deploy, and supervise DSW volunteers. Okay, so that's what I have there. Any questions on any of what I just mentioned? So all CERT programs have to be sponsored. Either through fire department, the city, police department, the county, they have to be sponsored. Because if a CERT program is not sponsored, then they're not eligible for the workers' comp program through Cal OES. And if they decide to do training, but we're going to bring in CERT programs from surrounding communities and they are sponsored, the training has to be pre-authorized by a government entity. If it's not, then anyone who attends is not eligible to file a claim. Okay. Let me just talk a little bit about the injury claims for travel. We're not an auto insurance company. We're not an insurance company at all. State Compensation Insurance Fund is our risk management carrier, and they are a state agency. And after a claim is submitted to me, I review it for completeness, and then I submit it to SCIF, State Comp Insurance Fund. And they also review it, and they will investigate if they find that something maybe isn't quite the way it ought to be. I'm in contact with them on a daily basis, and we have a limited financial budget through which we pay claims for injuries, prescriptions, doctor visits, permanent or temporary disability benefits. And so we're careful about that. Even though we're a state agency, my division, my department, which is only me, by the way, I have a very small budget as compared to state budget, which is billions. I don't have that. So if you're injured in an auto accident on the way, only you are eligible to file a workers' comp claim if you were on the way or on the way home from performing disaster services in a disaster or an emergency. Only you. The car is not covered, nor if you are if you injure someone in another car, or if you have a passenger who is not a DSW volunteer and who is deployed. They also cannot file claims with us. Only the person who is a disaster service worker volunteer and who was deployed to an incident. Okay, so if you're going to training, bring your insurance card. So, but we do handle accident or injuries during trainings as well. The other thing with trainings, they have to be pre-approved in advance. There must be an agenda, and there has to be a sign-in sheet, so we know that the person was actually injured at the activity and not at Safeway on the way home. That hasn't happened. Okay, any questions? No?
I have one thing. I think when we met with you, Don, you had said that also you have to stay within the scope of your training, right? So I think you gave an example of somebody helping with a horse or something.
Yeah. There are 13 approved classifications of volunteers. By the way, CERT is number 3. So you're way up there at the top. And it's also our largest cadre of volunteers in California. And the one we have the fewest claims from, which is awesome. If you are, your skill set involves maybe medical for persons, or it's communication or logistics, and you're operating within your skill set that you have been trained for as a CERT member and also as a DSW volunteer, but then you decide, well, I'm going to go help these animal rescue people, and you get bit by an animal or knocked over by a horse, you are not performing the activities in your skill set or for which you have been trained, and it doesn't say that on your registration. Therefore, a claim would be denied. We had that during the campfire. Someone didn't register at all, and her friend who was registered said, oh, don't worry about it. What they don't know won't hurt them. She got clobbered by a horse, shattered her left shoulder, and claims were denied because she wasn't registered. She should have been, but she wasn't. California did. California is generous. We will pay the first $10,000 of a claim for someone in her case, and we did. But her surgery was certainly much more money than that. And I believe Butte County helped her out as well as her own health insurance. So if we stay in our lanes, we're good. So yeah, do what you're trained to do. Now, being a CERT member, you have a CERT membership. It is not automatic disaster service worker volunteer. So a CERT member must also be registered with an accredited disaster council or an authorized designee as a DSW volunteer in order to take advantage of our workers' comp benefits if you're injured. Okay, it's not an automatic. So 2 registrations, CERT and DSW volunteer.
One question, Don.
Yes.
This is Chuck Rader from Saratoga CERT. Quick question. In regard to animal response, rescue, and sheltering, we have a class actually that's coming up this coming Saturday in Saratoga, all-day class on that topic. And it's being taught by, you may know her, Kathy Winkleman from Sacramento CERT. She's the lead state instructor for animal rescue, response, and sheltering. And she's done training evidently all throughout the state, as well as up in Oregon and Washington State on this topic. And she's activated for a number of predominantly wildland fires where she has stood up animal shelters and been the shelter manager. So by virtue of the fact that we go through this training and we are basically, if you will, accredited CERT to City of Saratoga, if we were to, let's say, volunteer to, let's say, go forward to assist with staffing an animal shelter, would that be covered by our city, or how would that be covered? Would that be covered through Kathy's Sacramento CERT organization, or?
No, you're okay. No one's covered. You're eligible. So okay. No, it would be through your own local jurisdiction. However, if you are, let's back up. You're going to a training for animal rescue. Are you going to get a certificate?
Yes, I believe we are.
Okay, then what you ought to do is have your CERT coordinator or supervisor hold on, lawnmower, let me go shut the window.
Ashley, if you're still there, we'll get you next, okay?
It looks so ocean-esque there. I'm surprised the lawnmower is going by.
100 degrees here, and I had to shut the window. Okay, you should have your coordinator pull your registration form and add animal rescue to your classification. You can have more than one classification. You can have CERT, animal rescue, radio communications. You can have many of them. And so if animal rescue is on your oath form, registration form up at the top, and you get injured, Chuck, I get a copy of your registration form. And if I see that you were injured, helping wrangle up cats in El Dorado County, but I see animal rescue at the top, I go, he's good to go. But if I don't see that, it will be questioned. Why were you doing that?
Yep.
Okay, so that's why it's important to, your classifications can be updated by whoever your supervisor is for your CERT program.
Okay.
Keep everything up to date.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Is there just regarding that, is there a list of what classifications are available?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Ooh.
If any of you are on your computer, which you probably are because you're talking to me, and you have a separate screen and you want to go to where I'm peeling all of this information off, you just go to caloes.ca.gov.
I put the link in the chat for you, Dawn, to go to the disaster service worker page. You guys all see that in the chat? Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, go there. And I'm going there myself right now. there is, under the Disaster Service Worker Volunteer Program webpage, number 2, program guidance. And I believe it's around page 13, if I'm not mistaken, and I often am.
It says eligible activities.
No, let me go further back. There is a,
Page 20.
thank you, that's what I meant. Who said that? Yeah, and those are the approved classifications. No one has ever come and said, hey, what about, and came up with another name. I think anything anyone could think of can be in one of these 13 classifications.
Page
By the
20
way-
has 13 classifications. Is that what you're saying?
There are 13 approved classifications for the DSW volunteer program. Any volunteer can have more than one classification, but it should be on their registration form. At the very top of the registration form is a line that says classification. So
Oh, page 19.
CERT would be the first one. Another one could be laborer or utilities. See, number 12 is search and rescue. We should not see CERT and search and rescue on the same line. Search and rescue is primarily with sheriff departments throughout the state, and they are specially trained. And most of our claims, injury claims, come from search and rescue, and almost all of it is from the waist down, knees, ankles, legs. Okay, don't get hurt. So, yeah.
Do
you
those
can-
claims get covered?
Pardon me?
Do those claims tend to get covered even though it was search and rescue for the certs?
I haven't had any CERT claims involved in search and rescue.
Oh, okay, okay.
Search and rescue is a category all to itself. And so usually sheriff departments do not engage CERT teams unless they're sponsoring a CERT team. But normally they aren't. Most places, CERT teams are sponsored by fire districts. Anything else?
I mean, specifically, I would imagine there's specific certifications that somebody that you would want to see, not just someone gave a class and printed out a certificate for it for, say, logistics or for communications. So is there somewhere where it says what, or is that all dependent on your ADC or your program coordinator for what they'll accept?
Yeah, this program, Ashley, the DSW volunteer program, operates on trust. And it also operates at the local levels. So I never see the registration forms, the certificates. I only see a registration form if someone is injured. That's one of the documents that I have to have. I don't need to see their certificates or school completions, GPA. I don't need any of that stuff. That would be something at the local level where they may say, okay, we want to do fingerprint checks, background investigations on people. Do it, fine, that's okay. We're not paying for it, but if they want to do that, that's up to the local jurisdiction to do that. And if with certs, I know that you have levels of achievement and certifications for certain things. Those should be kept at the local level. And hopefully, if someone is injured, they were injured within their classification and their competency, that they were physically capable of performing that service, and they got hurt. It was an accident. But if they were doing something outside the scope of their training and were injured, that's probably going to be denied.
Fair, okay.
Ashley, do you have any other questions? Because I don't see any other questions popping up, but I know you said you had some more.
So
Um, I apologize that I had to walk out for a work thing for a moment in the beginning when you were talking about something I was super interested in, about self-deployment. What I heard was self-deployment does not get, is not eligible for DSW. Did I hear that right? Or was there
Oh,
some?
that's correct.
Okay,
If someone says, hey, all of my friends just got activated to go down and help out with whatever. You're setting up a giant shelter tent, and someone says, I didn't get called, but I'm going to go help anyway. Well, that's very noble, but if they get injured, they're not eligible. They have to be actively deployed by their supervising entity in order to go.
so two things on that. If I'm the group, the city that got activated, and I have people from other cities, other nearby cities are saying, hey, we want to come help you, but they haven't been activated yet. Is there a way for me to have them sign something or whatever so that they will be covered when they show up?
The way it should work, from neighboring communities, you ought to have a mutual aid agreement. And if you needed, let's say 20 other volunteers, and you don't have any more, and you needed them from the next hamlet over, you call that hamlet and you say, hey, some of your people have been asking if they can come help. The answer is yes, but we need you to send them, officially send them.
Nice.
So they will get those persons' names, give them to you. You will receive those people. You don't need any paperwork, except that you need to have some kind of communication with the supervisor of those other people that they're sending, Jimmy, John, Sarah, Kathleen, and so many, these people to help out. If they get injured while helping you at your location, you and their jurisdiction will coordinate the paperwork to send to me for the claim. You could fill out the claim forms. They have the registration form.
Awesome. That makes total sense. Thank you. And then on the other side of it, in our city, it is written, but still sort of vague in like the activation protocol that if we get a message, like a text or phone call with an activation number, then we're activated. Or if there's an earthquake that was powerful enough to make things fall off the shelves, then you can self-activate. Now that, yeah, so we will be covered in that case if we self-activated because stuff fell off the shelves.
Okay, you can't call it self-activation. Here's what it should be. It should be written into the ADCs or authorized designees emergency operations plan or standard operating procedures that if communications are down, which can happen during a major earthquake, cell towers fell over, the power's out everywhere, it should be pre-written in the EOP that if this happens, whether stuff fell off the shelf at Safeway or not, meet in the Safeway parking lot as soon as possible. Now that is a deployment. That is not a self-activation. So long as people will heed that, if they're able to, they can show up there. Okay, great. All right, team 3, perfect. Thanks, you guys. Team 1 is meeting at Trader Joe's. So that's perfectly acceptable.
If you have
But
a
it should
rendezvous
already-
point to meet.
Pardon me?
If you specify a place that people have to go, as opposed
Well,
to
yeah,
wandering
I
the
mean-
neighborhoods doing data collection or something.
Yeah, because I know that under CERT, you first check your family, then your neighborhood, and then you join up with your team.
Mhm.
Okay, if you can't get verbal activation, like I said, everything's down, internet's down, well, you're supposed to go do something because this is a major catastrophe. So it already ought to be in your training. Meet at this place.
Great, thank you.
Don, what if they get injured on the way to that place?
That is a deployment. So the injury on the way is an eligible activity. Therefore, a claim could be filed.
Okay,
That's
so
not a training.
if I
That's
tell
not a
everybody
training.
that if the case of a large scale earthquake like Loma Prieta, and you check into your command post or at your headquarters, and you again rendezvous at that particular address, you're not self-activating. And if you somehow T-bone somebody in the intersection of Main and Elm, you'll be eligible for benefits?
If they're injured, and we're probably going to have them take a driving class again.
Well, you know, in case of an activation or a disaster, people are going to have,
People
right,
get
they're going to be
people
through the
panic
roof
a
as far
little.
as their adrenaline.
Yes, they would be eligible to, or if you were their supervisor, then you file the claim. The individual volunteers don't file the claims. Their supervisors do. You know,
Sure, but are they
What-
eligible for benefits is my question. Are they in that situation where they have not been activated? I never activated them. I might not even activated. Maybe it's a huge misunderstanding and a dump truck drove by their house and knocked a picture off the wall and they beat feet down to headquarters.
that's not an activation, you know.
Sure.
Sure, I mean, that's sad if it was a kind of a misunderstanding, but no, it has to be an emergency. I mean, it has to be proven that there was an emergency. If someone misunderstood it and took off and got hurt, no,
Okay,
that's not eligible.
In that vein, we don't, at least in Campbell CERT, we don't put our volunteers through driving courses and get certificates. We just have our driver's licenses. So, but you're saying that if you're in a car accident on the way to an activation, they are covered, but they might have to go through a driving class?
No, I was kidding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they should. But
You don't know me very well. As I tell most people, only believe half of what I say and be suspect of the rest.
Oh, Don, you're disillusioning us. Hey,
Except when
ask
I'm
not so
speaking
much a
from this
question.
chair.
Not so much a question, but an opportunity to editorialize and give us advice. So July 4th is coming up, which means it's fireworks season, which means some people are really concerned about that and watching, right? And it's parade season, and some people might be planning to go out and do something with parades. Tell us about DSW and all those things and how we can make sure our volunteers are, you know.
Well, it's not it's not, those are not emergency activities. You know, a parade, watching fireworks, even directing traffic for, say, a large park. You have members who are helping to logically help park cars, directing traffic. That's great, but it's not an eligible activity. So if they get hurt, it's really they're on their own. Have your own insurance card with you, you know. If the fireworks got out of hand and you had a major fire from that, I hope something like that would be written in the emergency operation plan that, you know, we want CERT members to, because usually CERT members are almost always the first ones to respond, and which is fantastic. And then they know that once medical shows up, they step back and medical will take over, unless one of your CERT members is medical. So really the rule of thumb is the activity participating in an emergency or a disaster? Is the activity participating in a training for emergency or disaster? And the only difference is the travel component, which is travel to and from a disaster or an emergency is an eligible activity. Travel to and from a training activity is not an eligible activity. I don't know why it's in law.
So to feed off of that, so if we were providing like a July 4th parade, if our function there is to review and train on communications and train on first aid and train on traffic control, would that be able to be considered a training if it was pre-approved?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of a yes with a small y.
Right?
You know, there would be a lot of questions, but yes, it's a good
Okay.
example. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like people who sign up to help at the rodeo so they can get a free ticket and then they never help. They just go to the rodeo.
Right, right. Because I do utilize some of these programs to review certain CERT procedures, and it's part of communication situation awareness, going through the 9 objectives and things like that. So I do try to incorporate that. So we utilize this time as an exercise and training versus just sitting around watching the parade.
I think that when you have live community activities, it is a good time for training. Know who's coming, have them sign up, sign in, and sign out. And it's a pre-approved training activity. Okay.
Right.
And remember that not everybody who gets injured wants to file a claim. I have one that I got notice from law enforcement, our own law enforcement, that someone was injured over the weekend. And I'm still waiting for all the documentation. And today, the supervisor said, she doesn't want to file a claim. That's fine. I still need the claim forms. And she doesn't have to sign. Skiff will reach out to her. And if she says, hey, forget it, it's nothing, it was just a scratch, But all injuries, once the supervisor knows that someone was injured by law, they have to notify me within 5 days. And they have to there's a certain claim form that has to be given to the injured person within 24 hours of knowledge of an injury. And that person could say, hey, I'm not going to file a claim. I threw it away. Okay. Just put that, Skiff will call you. They'll take your statement and we're fine.
So who qualifies as the supervisor? In the case of like a neighborhood drill, would it just be the team lead that was putting on the drill? Or would it be if the program manager who wasn't there hears about it?
Whoever is assigned to be supervisor, either for a team at a disaster, or if there's a training, who's leading the training? That person is then responsible as the supervisor.
Okay.
So you're having an outdoor training and someone trips over whatever and falls and hurts their knee, then it would be whoever was the lead person will fill out the information and send it in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions for Dawn?
I'm here all day.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Dawn is very good about getting back and meeting, with groups and things like that. I know I sent out his whole presentation that I got. I think it was the one that you did with Subha. Dawn, I had sent it out to the group as a reference. And, I know that there's probably things that will pop up over the years that you'd like to ask. So thank you for taking time out of your day to come and talk to the group. I really appreciate you being here. And as always, I learn something new every time I talk to you. So
You're welcome. If you have my office phone number, feel free if you need clarification on anything that maybe I said or you thought, or Jimmy in the mailroom told you, no, we do it this way. No. Jimmy's always wrong. Call me, So call me or email me, and I'm really happy to help out. Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. Okay.
all right, beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're
Enjoy the
welcome.
rest of your
Thank you.
day.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, hopefully that kind of helped you guys get some questions answered. I know that sometimes some of my volunteers will ask me and I'm like, I think so, I'm not sure. So I printed out that guidance, disaster service worker guidance documentation. It's really been helpful just looking at it. I also thought it would be great to have you CCLT leadership come and listen to it too, right? Because if you're a leader somewhere on an event, it's good to kind of understand the background of what potentially you would have to do. And it sounds like, just make sure that you are, documenting what happened in the injury and letting your CERT PM manager know, whoever is in charge of that paperwork. So awesome. We have a new, I won't say new, but old person here. Bob Casconi, can you say hi? Because it's been a while, I think, since we've seen you around.
And how did you just describe me?
Old but new.
Okay, yeah. I had a birthday recently.
Was it a young? No, I'm just kidding.
70.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I am officially older now, not old, but older.
Older.
Older, yeah. Most of the names I see on the screen know me from one way or the other. Here in Cupertino, I should start out there. Cupertino, part of this city's Office of Emergency Management and part of our Citizen Corps, which includes our DSWV program here. We're actively working on rewriting, actually starting writing our volunteer management annex to our emergency operations plan. And it includes a number of our volunteer groups that are connected up with our Office of Emergency Management. Not all of them are DSWV. We have some other ones in there. So it'll be addressing all of these, how they work together and how it fits, and redefining the relationships. Because we now have, not only do we have an official emergency manager here, which is relatively new for the city, but we have additional staff. There are four paid staff members there, plus a couple of volunteers that are part of our OEM team. So.
Very nice. Wow. I would love to maybe get a hold of that after you guys are done. Maybe you guys can do a little tutorial for us, because I know some of us are sort of in that realm of trying to put together some kind of things like that and looking at expanding the group, maybe not towards what's a CERT, but doing some reserve things. So that would be awesome.
The intent of everything that OEM publishes is that it's public.
Yeah, yeah.
We've already shared a number of items with various other groups around here. This is still fairly early for that particular annex.
Yeah.
But as we move forward on it, it certainly will be out there, and with the CCLT and the program managers meetings, yes.
Yeah, and it'd be great too, just kind of like whatever your challenges were. And, we'd like to hear about lessons learned. If you, run up against any walls, that'd be great. So learn how to jump over them. I've known Bob for how many years has it been, Bob? We used to work together as supervisors at AMR.
I think I was 18 at the time. So that's how many years?
Well, I was only 5, but who's counting? Yeah. So sorry for the old guy comment, but we've been around together for a long time. So
I understand old guys rule.
They do strongly roll. Okay, so the next thing we'd like to talk about, so welcome, Bob. Thank you for being here. And then I think, Ashley, you've been on here before. I just want to make sure everyone kind of knows everybody. I think you've come to this before, right, Ashley?
Yeah, once or twice.
Okay, cool, perfect. So next big thing I'd like to talk about is our joint skills, CERT skills day that we are planning in the planning phases. Now, I want to be very open and transparent. I know that Stephen Roth is not here, he's on vacation. So I have not had an opportunity to discuss the kind of things that have popped up since the last meeting that we had. We were gathering information, first of all, on what everybody's schedules were like in October, because that was sort of the time frame that we had discussed at the last meeting. I got the impression that, we were going to kind of gather information, figure out if October is going to work for people. And I have to say there was quite a few groups that were not able to swing an October date due to other CERT academies and things they had going on. So that was one challenge that I faced, just gathering information and looking at emails and things like that. So with that being said, the last CERT, we had a special kind of CERT PM meeting to talk about kind of where our groups are at and what we thought would be more beneficial to get maybe some longer time periods to postpone this. I did talk to your lieutenant, right? Are you a lieutenant? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I like to call everybody captain, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind that, but some people.
Okay. Chief will be fine.
Chief, okay, there we go. I had a long conversation with him just to kind of let him know what's been going on. I told him that I didn't really want to, I'm not a proponent of emailing people while they're on a nice vacation and being like, hey, we changed a bunch of stuff, because I don't know about you guys, but that just stresses me out. And, you're supposed to be shutting it off, right? So I talked to him about it. And, as a collective group for CERT PM managers, we were like, let's just have everybody together, talk about it, some of the challenges that have popped up, and actually some really great ideas too. So I want to kind of share a quick little slide with you guys. Can you guys see that, hopefully? Skills Day talking points.
Yes.
Can someone nod? Okay, thank you. It's like I just need someone to nod. So We talked about recommending moving the date, and I know it's a little far off, but there was some things brought up, like some really cool ways we could utilize this activity. One of them was to invite the media to come and see, all the different CERT groups out doing, the education and the skills. And with that, we also were talking about maybe having some CERT resources, tables, vendors. ProPack does a lot of CERT, really cool CERT gear. Would that be something that, you guys would be interested in doing? I love the media idea that came from Jennifer Ponce. We also want to, bring in the hams too, I think would be a really important key component of doing this as well. Some of us on the CERT PM side, we're hoping to utilize this sort of as a, hey, you really should come to this CERT skills day. It kind of puts us all on the same page about what we're learning. Some of us haven't been able to go in person to anything for several years. So kind of utilizing that as like, hey, you have 6 months to make this date happen. And also too, we talked about doing a triage event as one of our skills that we had gone over at the last CCLT meeting. And, I was thinking that along with everybody, maybe just with like a really cool, like sort of large triage component with some moulage victims and things like that. So really kind of talking about elevating it. And then the CERT PMs also would like to have you guys in CCLT survey your group to see what you guys would like as a potential gift for coming, to the event. And, our thought process was, you guys give us what your top 3 choices would be. And then we'll decide on a gift that we're all going to purchase on our own, and we can customize it, but everybody will get kind of the same thing as for coming to the event. So I was really hoping to kind of put that out there to you guys and just see how you felt about that. Obviously, at the next CCLT meeting, Stephen is still not going to be there. It's going to be me. So I'm more than happy to take, any kind of, if you guys want to think about it, any kind of, talking points for the CCLT meeting. But this is sort of what I wanted to kind of propose to the group, see what people's thoughts are. And then I know that Ashley had sent something out about Campbell CERT and a potential drill opportunity with Campbell CERT in October. So I was wondering like, hey, if you guys, don't want to wait till January 28th for this event, if that date ends up working, you could have this other opportunity for drilling with Campbell CERT. Ashley, did you want to talk a little bit about that quickly if you're still there?
Sure, yeah. So what we did the last, I think right before COVID and then also last year, was we did kind of a shakeout themed drill where we did like a big earthquake has happened. Everyone in Campbell-wide CERT was aware that we were going to have a mock activation, and we actually ran through our system of having the city. We gave them the pre-listed thing of what we wanted it to say, and they actually activated us. We learned a lot of good things from that drill. Even just the activation, the city realized that they had they had the wrong time zone in the system, so they activated us at midnight. And the people who answered that phone call, we had one person show up to the rendezvous point at midnight thinking that it was a test. So, and then they still showed up at 8 o'clock, which I was like, you are the real star here. That is amazing. But because of that, we got that fixed. And we also got that changed over to a phone call and a text. Anyway, a lot of great stuff came from that. And we'd like to do it again. If people wanted to come out, we could do it more than Campbell-wide. This last time we did it at Hayman Park over off of like Hamilton and 17 area, which is where Hayman Park CERT, one of the Campbell neighborhoods, is our like rendezvous anyway. It's a huge grass area with a building and some bathrooms and tennis courts and things like that. And we just set up pop-up tents and then had a menu of say 6 options, and everybody could choose 3 of the 6 options or 4 of the 6 options. And then we had rotations. And so it was all picked out ahead of time and people just rotated through to their groups. We had all the instructors were Campbell CERT people. And we had great feedback from folks who were like, what a great refresher. That was the way we did it this year. 2 years ago, we did it where we actually pretended it was a total event, and we had moulage victims. We had three moulage victims that got really into it, and actually set up a whole triage area and had people running out to the neighborhood and collecting data and coming back. So we kind of want to get a little bit more like a hybrid of those two things. And the more people, the better. If we have people from other groups who want to instruct as well, that's totally great too. We're happy to get fresh blood and fresh methods of teaching in as well, because we've heard the same Campbell people speak a bunch, and so it's kind of maybe healthy to get a little bit from outside too. So anyway, so that's happening on October 22nd, as it says on the slide there. We're still very much in the planning stages, but we could do a like a meetup, like a sit down, grab a snack or grab dinner or something like that, and just like tabletop it if enough people wanted to get together and do that, or Zoom it, whatever, if that's more comfortable. So yeah, so that's that.
Okay, great. I think that could be a good, well, first of all, yeah, if we decide to go January 28th route, that would be another good way that people could be involved quicker, right? Then, because it's going to take a lot of planning if we want to hit that January 28th date. So that would be great. Let's circle back around to that and figure out, based on the recommendation to move it, if, I'd like to hear from the rest of the CCLT on what they feel on that. Then we can maybe put together some kind of communication wrapped around the Campbell CERT drill in October. Chuck and Sam and Harry, what do you guys think about that and the recommendation to do some other things while we have the time and the location to do it?
Okay, I'll respond first, Victoria. So 28th of January works fine for us. That's great. Yeah, and I think having a few more months to plan this, I think is a good thing. In regard to Campbell, Saratoga has in the past been invited to Campbell exercises, and we've really enjoyed the opportunity to come over and learn from Campbell. So I would just like to basically thank Ashley for making that available, because we have taken advantage of that actually at Hammond Park a couple of times, and it's been incredibly valuable training that we've received over there. So but to get back to your basic question, 28 January works fine for us.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Chuck, for that. Sam?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Palmisano. For those of you who knew Colin Tanner as the Gilroy CERT lead, Colin's moved to be the lead for Morgan Hill. So I'm just taking over Gilroy and working with Andrew Young. I think January would be a good time frame. We're trying to do a reboot and revitalization in South County. So that would give us time to get more interest and give us a good rallying point to energize people towards starting the year with an exercise that would be collaborative with other localities.
That'd be great. And I'm so sorry. I should have introduced you. This is what happens when you're old and you don't drink enough coffee. So I am very sorry. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to have you here. And thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Sorry, my screen's giving. Harry, talk to us, Harry.
Yeah, I agree. The January 28th, I think, makes a lot of sense. I particularly like the idea, if it's supported, to include the hams. And that adds, I think, a great potential experiential benefit. It also complicates the coordination and planning. So if you do, first thing to do is reach out really quickly to Tim Howard and say, we're interested in this, here's a date. We don't usually get firm dates for much for the next January until our end of year meeting in December. So they're planning stuff already, but I haven't seen any dates. So we ought to get after Tim to extend that interest.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I would imagine and hope that maybe, people that are like yourself that are involved in the ham could help facilitate that that portion of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe just give them, if you're able to give them just a heads up on January 28th. Again, I don't want to make any huge decisions, but I got the impression that Steve was flexible on the dates. I think just everyone was thinking October, but yeah, maybe as a tentative, and then just confirm when Stephen's back in, what is it, August? Right? What are we, June, July?
July.
Wow, I'm way, sorry. I'm going on a big vacation in August. I think my brain's already halfway on the plane. So, and it's not the Texas thing. It's another one. Awesome. Thank you, Harry, for that.
Okay, so you want me to reach out to Tim about January 28th? Is that?
Could you? That'd be great. Yep.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
Very
That
good.
would
I
be
will.
awesome. Okay.
all right.
Thank
And
you so much.
who should I tell him kind of point of contact will be, or just hold that in abeyance until we get further along?
Well, Stephen doesn't know what's going on. So if you CC him and he sees it, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. Daniel, you can probably answer to that. Do you want to make you the contact for now so that we don't stress him out on his vacation?
Yes, just list me, Daniel Moskowitz with Sunnyvale. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
And then Daniel, did you want to talk about anything on your end?
I'm pretty comfortable with that January date. I think pushing it off is a good idea. So we can make it bigger and more, give it more umph. So this sounds good.
Okay, cool. Bob?
No, I had nothing to add, but thank you for the meeting today and for inviting that guest. It was great.
Yeah, you're welcome. Michael, any issues with that? I think we were gonna try to see if Michael could get some go ahead from San Jose State. He might be dual meeting it today. I know there's a big wildfire presentation going on too. Ashley, would Campbell CERT still be down to do it in January, do the skills thing?
Yeah, for all the reasons stated above, that sounds great. That sounds awesome.
Okay.
I was wondering, is there a budget? Like, are we trying to pool some from everyone's cities who's going to participate, or?
Yeah, I think now that we, if we decide on this date, that's where we're going to start talking about how that's going to work. I think there's been some talk about that and who can provide what. And I think this actually might give us some time to get some donations. At least that's what I was hoping. A lot of, people like to donate to these kind of cool, community events. So I was thinking donations might be cool too. So if anyone has any ideas or knows anyone that would probably want to donate, throw it out to the group so we know. Tony, any input from Milpitas?
No input, thank you.
Are you okay with January 28th?
Yeah, totally fine.
Okay, cool. And Norma, I think you're with Daniel, right? And hi, by the way.
Hi there. Yes, he took it over and great.
Awesome. Bob Cupertino?
That looks good so far, that date.
Okay.
I'll confirm that as a strong tentative.
Yes.
And I'll let
And
you
then I know Ken had sent me an email saying that you guys might be interested in hosting a little mini skills thing as well at some point. So, maybe if you want to go back and talk to him about that, and that might be another opportunity for some people who don't want to wait till January.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. And then Gracie said that for them, October wasn't good either. They have 2 academies and things like that. And she was very, very happy to do the January 28th and to help in whatever way she can to get registration or things like that. So I think this sounds like a good go, unless Stephen Roth strongly disagrees with it. Then I think we can all tentatively put down that date and hope for the best on that one. We kind of ran out of time for roundtables. Does anyone have anything they want to throw out to the group before we stop for the day?
I was hoping to just get a quick temperature check for if anybody else has an academy that they know about coming up for the rest of this year, because Campbell CERT, I'll send out the link right after this meeting, has set up a local academies page on our Campbell CERT page. So current academy dates in Santa Clara County, I've got Santa Clara County Fires, September 8th, November 5th. City of Sunnyvale, September 6th to October 29th. City of San Jose Spanish, register below and they'll announce the date when they have enough interest for Spanish. And then Santa Clara County Teen Cert at Los Altos Hills, August through October 16th. Was there anyone else?
I've got one.
Ooh, yeah.
October 6th with the field day, going to be on Saturday, October 22nd for Mountain View.
For Mountain View. Cool. And is there a sign up on Eventbrite or something I could go get a link for?
Yes,
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Bob.
you're welcome.
So my question I would have just for generally for the group, are most people taking signups from other cities and that's fine? Or how is that working? I just wondered, Ashley, because mine is a Santa Clara County program, so I don't really think about that too much. But is that going to cause any like issues with anyone else, or are people aware that if they do utilize these links that they might be potentially not able to go to some people's? I don't know. It's just a thought. There's nothing, just wondering how that works for most of us. Like Bob, do you take people from other areas? You do, right?
I do. I had to tell somebody recently, no, it was a business that wanted to come and do business emergency response training. They wanted to use our CERT class for that. And I was like, no, find something else to do with your off time. But for the most part, we'll take people from our area. Our goal is to obviously train the city and then our op area as best as possible, but I haven't turned away a resident yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think for South County, we're primarily focusing on the residents within our jurisdictions. But, of course, if there was availability, we did find a way to be able to track addresses so we can give preferential registration to those living in our jurisdictions. So we may be able to extend the invite to others at some point.
That's kind of what we've been telling people, is that if I was when we were doing a hybrid academy in Campbell, like, okay, so preference will be given for people in the city of Campbell. And then if we have room after that, we will let you know that you're off the wait list. So I think that's totally fine.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. I just want to throw it out there since I know we're all here. Okay, awesome. Anyone have anything else?
Just that was a great presentation.
Great meeting with you.
Stuff I learned, and a lot of stuff I've dealt with in the last few months, even with one particular volunteer. So this is really good to hear.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. I'm always struggling to find things that people can relate to.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, that's good. And I'm really happy that to see some CCLT people here too, and really appreciate your presence as well. And I'll be sending out the recording. Give me a couple days and the slide, just so everyone's kind of on the same page. But it sounds like if we can put January 28th on our calendars as a 90% go, then I think we're looking good. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.